Hello, rich ones. Welcome to our space and to episode 8 in season 2 of the Hot Money Talks podcast. My name is Christine Ishampepe, the money mechanic, and I help you fix your finances. I am on a mission to equip Africa's younger population with adequate financial literacy, advice, and strategy so they can journey to financial freedom and live life purposefully on their own terms and to the fullest, because money is no more a barrier. I want you to live your best life. The Hot Money Talks podcast is a series of honest, open, and transparent money conversations that will guide you on your journey to financial freedom. Here on the podcast, we believe 100% that financial freedom is possible with the right set of knowledge, the right amount of time, and the right circle of people. So let me share a little life update. So a few days ago, precisely on the 4th of April, I was live at the UniJOS financial conference that was hosted by my friend and brother, the rich young ruler. It was an incredible time. I promise you, we had so much fun learning about our finances, learning about, how to make money as a student, how to manage money, as a student, and I was privileged to be one of the keynote speakers focusing on how to manage your money as a student. It was an amazing time, and I am looking forward to doing this again and again and again. I'd like to take this moment to give a special shout out to Mr. Paul Hirekan, the rich young ruler, for pulling this event off for the student community at the University of Jos. And so, guys, if you are interested in learning about forex trading and how to be profitable at it, visit his website at www.therichyoungruler.org to get started. Now, I hardly make such endorsements on my podcast, but I am confident about this one. Secondly, I launched a WhatsApp channel a few days ago where I will be sharing live updates on my journey as the money mechanic. If you'd like to know about my upcoming events, book releases, webinars, courses, and other activities, just head to the show notes and you'll see the link to the channel. Or you can simply just search for the money mechanic on your WhatsApp and you will definitely find me. Now on to our discussion for today. Let's talk about setting healthy financial boundaries. Now, if there's one thing that Nigerians do not respect, it is boundaries. Facts. However, if you must progress with your financial journey, then you must set boundaries, right? Now, financial boundaries are a positive step towards protecting your financial and mental health, and also protecting your closest relationships as well. If you don't set boundaries for your finances and learn to say no gracefully, you will find yourself stretched thin emotionally and, of course, financially. Now, we don't talk about setting financial boundaries, enough. It is a conversation that we should have all the time, because especially in the setting that we find ourselves in as Nigerians, as Africans, we see a lot of people and things, mostly people, encroaching into our lives without our permission, trying to have access to our finances and putting us in a lot of emotional distress simply because they feel some kind of entitlement to our finances. And I would say one great struggle for a lot of Africans is black tax, right? Your family's entitlements to your money, so your family feels they have some kind of entitlement to your money, and as a result, they overstep boundaries and encroach into your life and into your finances. Now, what are boundaries? I have no dictionary definition here, but I know boundaries are like fences, right? They serve as some kind of protection around whatever you feel is valuable, whatever you feel you want to protect. So let's take an instance. When people buy land and they don't want it to be encroached on, the very first thing they do is put a fence around it. It doesn't matter if there's nothing on the land. So there's this land literally a few steps away from my house where I live in Jos, right? And that land has been there since like forever, right? But there's like this really tall fence around it, and it even has a gate, but there's nothing on the land. I guess the reason why that was done, was to, of course, set boundaries so that people don't trespass anyhow, so that people don't go in and pour dirt, because that's the modus operandi of a lot of Nigerians. They see empty land, and the next thing is it becomes a dumpster, right? And so when landowners do that, it is to prevent some of these things. It is to prevent people from defecating on the land. These are real issues, right? So setting boundaries serve as a protection, right? As a guiding, I don't say guiding principle, but serves as a guide, right? So people don't overstep where they're not supposed to. Now, we're having this conversation because, again, like I said, we live in a society where boundaries are not respected at all. I mean, and it's not just about money. Nigerians do not respect boundaries. Like, a Nigerian wants to put their mouth in what is not their business. They want to poke nose in what no concern them. It's just behavior, right? But now we are focusing on how to set financial boundaries, and healthy ones at that. So today I'd like to share with us a few tips on how to set healthy financial boundaries. The very first way to set healthy financial boundaries is to define your goals. Now, it is very important that you are able to, first of all, identify what your short and long-term goals are, and of course prioritize them, and then outline action steps. Now, why is this important? Because this will help you to stick to your financial boundaries and your goals, of course, and make it easy to communicate them with others. Now, many of us talk about boundaries, but we want people to respect boundaries we have not actually set. Now, how do you set boundaries when you don't have goals? Right? One of the reasons why a lot of us fall victim of black tax is because we don't even know what our financial goals are, very sadly. Right? And because we don't know what our financial goals are, we are unable to actually set healthy boundaries. Right? But if you know that my goal is to own my first piece of land in the next 2 to 3 years, trust me, you will know how to set the appropriate boundaries to be able to hit that goal. Right? So you need to be able to have a goal. You should have a saving goal. So over the period of 1 year, in this year, what exactly are the things I am saving for? What is my saving goal for the year? Because this is going to really affect what I do and the decisions I make with my finances. So define your goals. And this is where I stop to ask you, what are your goals? What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? Have you put them in order of priority? Now, I was teaching yesterday. I was with the National Fellowship of Medical Laboratory Science students. I'm correct. And, we're talking about financial literacy generally. And, I had to bring to the limelight the fact that every life goal you have is actually tied to your financial goals. Every life goal you have, your career goals, your business goals, your relationship goals, they're tied to your financial goals. And that's why you must get this aspect of your life right. Can I hear an amen? Okay, so the second tip to setting healthy financial boundaries is to prioritize your financial needs. In other words, put yourself first. Why? Because you cannot pour from an empty cup. Now, it is great to support your family and friends, no cap, right? But you need to also be realistic about your own financial needs. If you continue to bow to the pressure from family and friends, you harm your current self and prevent your future self from attaining financial stability early and quickly. This is where I say that you must make sure you have savings before you save others. Yeah. So you want to save others, but you don't have savings. Ogbeni, how's that supposed to work? Right? You must understand that strengthening your financial position will put you in a much better position to help others down the line. So it's great that you want to save the world, right? But you the fact you actually cannot save the world, right? And you must come to terms with that you actually cannot save the world. You can just do the one that you can. I'd always say, do your part and leave the rest to God. Right? But in all honesty, put yourself first. This is why you need to know what your goals are. Can you see how this is connected? How do you put yourself first when you don't even have goals? Right? It is when you set goals that you are now putting yourself first, because now you have something you are working towards. So it's very important that, you prioritize what your needs are first, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. The third tip is to set rules around lending money. Now, this is so incredibly important. Why? Lending money to friends and family has caused problems for so many people. My goodness. Me inclusive, I have seen premium shege from borrowing people money. No kidding. And I see that is a struggle for a lot of people. Like, I talk to people on a daily basis, and it's like, this one is telling you how I borrowed this person money and the person is not picking my calls, and I helped this one and the person is giving me attitude. And my goodness, I've heard horrible stories. I've heard stories of, people collecting loans, huge sums of, money from people who are still trying to come up with their businesses. And boom, in fact, one I heard was the person literally traveled like Japa, as in that kind of travel with somebody's money, and then just went out of contact with the person and left this person, having to pay back this loan, because the person also collected the loan to also give this person a loan, because the person in question, made it look like it was an emergency. And then, it was found out in the end that, the money was used, for another thing entirely. And that was really, really sad. Set rules around lending money. I gave this a particular point on its own because this is so crucial. This is a very, very great way to actually set financial boundaries. Because on a serious note, like, people borrow money from you, and then if you now made the mistake of even now borrowing money from someone to borrow money to another person, you are now stuck in the middle. And you now have sleepless nights and all sorts of things because you went to help somebody and the person did not have sense enough to be responsible and be a person of integrity. So set rules around lending money, right? If need be, if you must lend money, have some kind of paperwork to it. Sign agreements. People should be held accountable, right? And for me, my personal rule, having been scarred repeatedly over the years, is, to be honest, I must really know you to lend money. And I would say that they're just like, 2-3 people in this world, maybe 4, that I know that I can lend money without even worrying, because they have proven themselves to be people of integrity. But you see, for any other person, if you come to me, this is what I do. You tell me, oh, Christine, please, I'm looking for a loan of 50,000. And what I have comfortably is 5,000 naira. And I know it's not paying me if you don't pay me back. I will give you the 5,000 naira and I will say, take, this is what I have. I pray God provides the rest for you. And I will move on with my life because I want to be able to sleep well. I've had too many sleepless nights already and I've learned my lesson. So set rules around lending money. During the very last edition of the Breakfast Club, which is my monthly, meet up to talk about money, we're talking about, this topic of setting healthy financial boundaries. And we're just, talking about other ways that we can set financial boundaries. And when we got to this point of lending money, I remember that one of the attendees, mentioned that for him, he has something he does called a litmus test, right? And before he borrows you money, he does a litmus test. And for him, he said one of the litmus tests that he does is he tests you with like little amounts. So maybe you ask for 2,000 naira, cool, he gives it to you. But he sees how you handle that situation. Do you pay back the 2,000 naira, or do you assume, some people have a very, very funny mind. They can just assume and say, it's 2K now. Why should I bother myself about paying back 2K? So he does that litmus test to see what you're going to do. He's not going to ask you for the money back, but he's going to see if you keep your word. And if you don't, best believe he's never going to come to your aid again. Right? And I also said that another litmus test that one can do is to actually investigate the person. So if you come to me asking me for a 500,000 naira loan or even a 50K loan, I will go and find out from people who know you and say, guy, this person is asking me for this loan. What is your experience with this person? Is this person a person of integrity? Can I trust this person? Right? And then find out. And many times when you do that, you'd actually find out whether or not to help the person. So another lady who was at the Breakfast Club was sharing, that she was in a situation one time where she borrowed a friend money, and then it just became messy. So she now spoke to someone that knew the lady, and the person was like, this lady does not have a good track record when it comes to borrowing money. But at that time, it was too late. I just kept saying, if I had asked, I would have just saved myself distress from the very beginning. All right. So the final tip I'd like to share today that will help us in setting healthy financial boundaries is to communicate your boundaries. Have money conversations with the closest people in your life. Now, such conversations can be difficult, but they are essential to having healthy long-term relationships. Learn to be comfortable saying no. No is not a dirty word. Okay? You cannot save the world, just like I earlier said, and you must come to terms with that. Also know that you can say no without being rude or degrading. You can say no gracefully. This is very important, communicating your boundaries. Right, so how do you expect people to respect boundaries that you have not communicated to them? That's a second thing, right? So at first I said, how do you expect people to respect boundaries you have not set? So when you set the boundaries, you're halfway there. You now need to communicate these boundaries, right? Very, very important that you communicate your boundaries. And you can communicate your boundaries and do it gracefully. Now, what other boundaries can you suggest in addition to these? Please, you can leave me, something in the comments if there's something you think I've missed, or how are you practicing healthy financial boundaries. Please do share in the comments, or feel free to send me an email. My email will be in the show notes. I'd really, really love to hear from you. As we draw the curtain on today's episode, I would like you to remember that no one will respect the boundaries you have not set. And no one will respect the boundaries you have not communicated about. Boundaries are healthy, and so don't be afraid to put them in place for your health and wealth. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Hot Money Talks podcast. If you have listened to this point, then it means you have gotten value. Don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead and share the link to this episode with someone you want to see win with their finances this year and beyond. Now, it would mean the world to me if you took a few minutes to leave me a review in the comment section of this podcast so others can see your endorsement and join the community of listeners who enjoy this podcast. Don't forget that new episodes of the Hot Money Talks podcast drop every Saturday, and you can listen to them on your favorite podcast platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Subscribe and follow the show on either of these platforms so that you are notified whenever an episode is released. Now, recommendations are powerful, so please tell your friends and family about this podcast so we can go on this journey together. To connect with me on other platforms, do well to follow The Money Mechanic at The Money Mechanic page on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I hope most importantly that you will take action on your finances today. Sending you lots of love, lots of light, and a sprinkle of money in between.